As I was running up the mountain, I was thinking about the idea of taking a zero, which is common parlance in the athletic world, where your coach has prescribed you a particular workout or you got some plan online and it told you what you needed to do today, but you had too much to do, you had too little energy, you didn't have enough time, you just didn't feel like it, and you took the zero. And as I was thinking about this, because I hear it a lot, I realized that in my world there are no zeros. There's 0.1 to 100, but there's no zero. It never goes below 0.1. And what that looks like for me is an approach. More specifically, a compassionate approach, where I put an idea in front of me. I'd like to go check out the old stage road today, do some filming, see what the foliage looks like. It's a green tunnel, and when the leaves turn, it's a green, orange, yellow, and red tunnel. And it's a sunny day, so things are going to be well illuminated. Let's go check it out. Maybe we'll run to the top of the mountain. 2 miles, climbing 1,400 feet, solid grade all the way, technical and rocky. I don't know. Let's find out. I'm curious. I barely run anymore, but we'll see what happens. So I put that in front of me, but it's not a goal that I have to meet. It's simply curiosity. Now, getting to the top of the mountain, we're going to call it 100, but as far as I'm concerned, it's 100 no matter what you accomplish. But just for the sake of argument, most people are not me, so it'd be nice if they could accomplish it. That's the way they see it. So we go out and we just approach. We approach our clothing and we see if we have enough energy to engage with the clothing. Most likely we do. We approach our shoes. We approach the door. In this case, I have to approach the car. And all the way along, I'm tuned in. Do I have enough energy? Yes. Do I have enough time right now? Yes. And what we discover is that getting into motion towards the activity is almost always possible. On rare occasions it isn't, but it's almost always possible. And even on the occasions where it isn't possible, you took some steps, you approached something, you stepped out of the story that you have that nothing is possible, and you say, well, let me just go interact with my clothing. Okay, 0.1. It's not a zero. We took a step towards the clothing. And in the midst of working with the clothing or the shoes or the car, something legitimate came up. And we realized, you know what, it's just not going to happen today. But I'm not at zero. So if we can recognize that consistency matters so much more than actually hitting the target goal. And when I say consistency, I don't mean the consistency of hitting the target goals. I simply mean the consistency of approaching activity. The consistency of stepping out of the story of what you can't do on a large grand scale. I can't run today. And breaking it down into, well, running requires clothing. So let's approach clothing rather than this large, general, abstract, monstrous thing, concept called running, or for me, running up the mountain today. And if I can keep doing that, if I can keep breaking it apart, what I see is that 99.9% of my resistance and avoidance is based in a story. And it's a large story. It's the story of a day and everything that I've done up until this point, and a story of accumulated feelings, and therefore a drained gas tank, because each time I felt a little bit of effort, my brain took a note, added it to the story, and it's ticking off all those effortful moments until finally it says you're done. You've exhausted your gas tank. But is that a physical gas tank, or is that just a virtual gas tank in relation to me as the character in that story? And when we think of the run, who's doing the run? And how much of the run do we think of at once? Chances are we think of it as one big chunk. And when we do that, we compare this feeling of energy now based on the story to the feeling of an entire run and say, whoops, can't do it. Because the gas tank's empty and that run feels big. That run feels scary. It feels like too much. But these are just appraisals. They're virtual simulations. They're rough sketches of what condition your body might be in and what it might be able to do. But in reality, your body's gas tank is topped off. Now, if you have an injury, that's a different story. But even then, there's some movement that's available to you. Every injury I've had, well, with the exception of injuries to my back, which are pretty debilitating, but even then, swimming might be a possibility. But for the majority of injuries, there's some kind of movement that you can engage in. There's something that you can do that gets you to point 1 or above. So the next time you're thinking, oh, I just don't have it today. You know what? I've been doing great. I'll just take it easy. It's best to take a little bit of rest and I'll call it a 0. Instead of doing that, question that thought. Question the story. Question your energy. Question the reality of you being framed in that moment. And say, I don't know, let me test. Let me see if getting my clothes is doable. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, so apparently I had energy for that. How about getting to the car? How about getting to the trail? How about starting my watch? How about taking that first step? Okay, first step isn't easy, but I can do it. And how about the next one? Well, felt like the first one. How about the next one? Felt like the first one. Can you continue doing this? Yeah, I think I can. And before you know it, you're at the top of the mountain. And not only did you not call a 0, but you actually hit the goal. And I've been able to do this now for years. Every day. It's very, very rare that I take a day off. And when I do, it's not because I want to. And it's not because I'm avoiding movement. It's because something legitimate came up. Got to take my mom to the hospital, or somebody died and I'm driving off to New Jersey or whatever. But even then, I'm going to try to move. I'm going to try to do something. I'm going to approach movement without any expectations. I'm not going to say, oh crap, I got to get my 3 hours in today and there's no way I'm going to do it. And I feel defeated, so I don't do anything. It doesn't happen because the only reason that I train close to 3 hours a day is that I'm never avoiding training, because I'm always approaching something. All day long, I'm approaching something. So, if you feel that 0 looming, and it sounds like a good idea, think again. Or should I say, don't think at all. Just go investigate, approach, and let me know how it goes.